When we think of Canada, we picture calm cities, friendly faces, and maple syrup sweetness. But underneath all that peaceful exterior lies a darker reality, which is a place where some of the most dreadful, cunning, and dangerous women are locked away behind prison walls. These aren't just women who made a mistake. No, these are women whose names have sent fear through courtrooms, whose crimes also left entire communities stunned, and whose presence behind bars still haunts correctional officers and inmates alike. And the scariest part? Many of them wore a mask of normalcy right up until their true nature was revealed to the public. Today we're diving into the most feared women in Canadian prisons. Hold on tight. These stories aren't easy to forget. Karla Homolka. Prison facility, Kingston Prison for Women, initially, then Joliet Institution in Quebec. Age at time of crime, 17 to 22 years old. When people talk about evil hiding in plain sight, Karla Homolka is almost always at the center of the conversation. On the outside, she had the face of the quiet, pretty girl next door. But behind that smile was someone who not only stood by as young girls were brutalized, but she helped plan their suffering. Alongside her then-husband, named Paul Bernardo, Karla played a key role in the horrifying crimes that would later earn the pair the nickname Ken and Barbie Killers. Amusing, right? It wasn't just murder, but it was carefully curated, cruel, and soaked in sadism. Together, Karla and Paul drugged, assaulted, and murdered at least 3 young women who were minors, including Karla's own 15-year-old sister, Tammy. What made Karla so terrifying wasn't just her involvement, but how she appeared disturbingly calm and detached from the brutality that occurred. She cleaned up scenes, played the obedient partner, and in many cases, acted as the bait. She didn't hesitate to lie or manipulate when it served her. It was obviously clear that this wasn't a woman forced into anything. She was a full participant who did it out of her own free will. Her 12-year plea deal in exchange for testifying against Paul, her partner in crime, sparked national outrage once the full details of her role were revealed. Canadians were horrified to learn that Karla, who had helped commit some of the country's most horrific crimes, would be out of prison by 2005, free to start a new life of her own. And that's exactly what she did, quietly blending back into society, getting married, and having children, while her victims remained far in the ground, to never see the light of day. To this day, Karla Homolka's name stirs rage and unease, not just because of what she did, but because of how little remorse she's shown. She's not only one of the most feared women in Canadian prison history, but she's also one of the most hated. And the fact that she walks free while so many are still picking up the pieces, that's a scar Canada won't forget so soon. Jennifer Pan, age at time of crime, 24 years old. Prison facility, Grand Valley Institution for Women, Kitchener, Ontario. At first glance, Jennifer Pan seemed like the kind of daughter every immigrant parent dreams of. Her Vietnamese and Chinese parents worked hard to give her a stable life in Ontario, and in return, they expected discipline, education, and success from her. Jennifer played the role well by attending piano lessons, figure skating, honor roll grades. But behind all that was a double life built on lies. She didn't get into university. She forged report cards. She lied about graduating, and when the truth became too hard to hide, Jennifer made a decision that would shatter her entire family at once. In 2010, Jennifer orchestrated a fake home invasion with her boyfriend and 2 accomplices. The goal? Get her strict parents out of the way. But what was staged as a robbery turned very real. Her mother, Bishpan, was shot and killed. Her father, Hanpan, was critically injured but survived. Jennifer, who had claimed she was tied up during the attack, ended up being the mastermind. The investigation peeled back years of deceit. All the fake diplomas, the lies about jobs, and the web of manipulation unraveled in front of the public. The trial left people stunned. It wasn't just the act itself, but it was the quiet, calculated lead-up that was baffling. Jennifer didn't fit the image people had of someone capable of something so devastating. That contrast made her case even harder for people to understand. She wasn't an outsider or a repeat offender. She was a daughter, someone raised in a home that valued education and structure. And yet, she planned her parents' murder like it was her only escape out of the lies she had created herself. Today, Jennifer is serving a life sentence at Grand Valley Institution for Women. She won't be eligible for parole until she's in her 50s. Her name still sparks intense reactions, especially among first-generation families who see themselves in her story, parents who pushed hard, and children who cracked silently under pressure. Jennifer's case is a painful reminder that sometimes the darkest acts come not from strangers, but from those closest to home and heart. Melissa Ann Todorovich, age at time of crime, 15 years old. Prison facility, Grand Valley Institution for Women, Kitchener, Ontario. Melissa was just 15 years old when she began spiraling down a path that would leave one young girl dead and an entire nation questioning how someone so young could orchestrate something so destructive. Growing up in Toronto, Ontario, Melissa was an intelligent, confident, and fiercely controlling woman, especially in her relationship with her boyfriend, David Bagshaw. What started as teenage jealousy soon turned into a dangerous obsession. Melissa couldn't stand the idea of another girl, Stephanie Rengel, being in David's surroundings, even though Stephanie and David barely had a connection anymore. In a series of intense, emotionally manipulative messages, Melissa pressured David to get rid of Stephanie to prove his loyalty. And on New Year's Day in 2008, he did just that to please Melissa. David lured 14-year-old Stephanie out of her home and stabbed her 6 times, leaving her to die in the snow just steps from her house. While David carried out the act, investigators quickly discovered that Melissa had been the puppet master all along by pushing, threatening, and emotionally blackmailing him for months, until the murder became reality. The case shocked Canada. The crime was emotionally calculated and carefully carried out. Melissa never held a weapon, never stepped outside her home that night, yet she was just as responsible. Her actions blurred the lines between manipulation and murder in a way that unsettled both legal experts and the public. Her courtroom demeanor was cool, detached, and it only added to the unease. This wasn't a crime of impulse, but it was one built brick by brick through digital messages and emotional control from Melissa to David. Melissa Todorovich was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced as an adult despite her age as at the time of crime. She is currently serving her sentence at Grand Valley Institution for Women. Her story stands out not just because of the age of everyone involved, but because it revealed how dangerous emotional coercion can be, even among teenagers. It wasn't a crime of violence born from poverty or desperation, but it was born from possessiveness, obsession, and emotional manipulation. Elizabeth Tracy May Wetlaufer, age at time of crime, 40 to 47, prison facility, Grand Valley Institution for Women, Kitchener, Ontario. Elizabeth Wetlaufer was a registered nurse who seemed to have it all. That is a steady job, a religious upbringing, and the respect of residents in southwestern Ontario. But between 2007 and 2016, that image took a dark turn as her real personality came into view. She injected insulin into elderly patients she cared for, resulting in 8 deaths and dozens more close calls. Survivors and family members had no idea until it all came crashing down. Her crimes weren't impulsive, but they were unsettlingly deliberate and carried out with clinical calm. Her first confirmed murder was in August 2007, and that was an 84-year-old veteran named James Silcox, who died after she gave him insulin. From that point on, she targeted vulnerable residents, often those with dementia or Alzheimer's, believing she was relieving pressure from them or even serving a divine purpose, claiming she felt a red surge before each act, a lie she obviously consistently told herself to relieve herself the guilt of the act she feels. She was considered a quiet worker, even someone family members felt comfortable around, until her confession in 2016 changed everything in the eyes of everyone. In court, Vettlaufer admitted guilt, 8 counts of first-degree murder, plus 4 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She expressed regret, saying sorry is much too small a word, and described her actions as the ultimate betrayal of trust. She had lost the trust of everyone who believed in her, as they would never look at her with the same eyes as they once did before her crimes were unraveled. She received a life sentence with no parole eligibility for 25 years, making it clear that her actions would haunt Canada's long-term care system for years to come. Now housed at Grand Valley Institution for Women, Vettlaufer remains one of Canada's most feared female offenders. Her case prompted a full public inquiry into nursing home oversight in Ontario, leading to sweeping policy changes, mainly around drug storage, staffing, and background checks. Families of her victims still speak about how deeply broken the system felt on the day their loved ones died in her care. She wasn't just a nurse gone wrong, but she was a person who abused her power when no one expected it, and the consequences were devastating. Terry Lynn Ruth McClintock, age at time of crime, 18. Prison facility, Grand Valley Institution for Women. Terry Lynn McClintock, at just 18, appeared to be the kind of person someone trusted without a second thought. But in April 2009, she lured 8-year-old Tori Stafford from her school in Woodstock, promised to show her a puppy, and launched the worst nightmare imaginable. Tori was kidnapped, tragically beaten to death with a hammer, and later sexually assaulted before she died after the horrific act. Her body wasn't discovered until 3 months later in a wooded area near Mount Forest. Terry Lynn confessed she held Tori while Michael Rafferty attacked her, and when she saw what was happening, she struck the fatal hammer blow herself on Tori Stafford. Terry Lynn pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in April 2010 and received a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. During the trial, she testified against Michael Rafferty, who was found guilty in 2012. He had received multiple sentences for kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder. Terry Lynn's courtroom behavior was rather calm and unflinching and left many in the courtroom in shock, especially when contrasted with the horror of the crime. How could a murderer be that calm at her sentencing? It was amusing. Initially housed at Grand Valley Institution for Women in Ontario, her case erupted into controversy when she was moved in 2018 to the Okama-Ochi Healing Lodge in Saskatchewan, a minimum medium security facility designed for Indigenous women. The move sparked national outrage, especially from Tori's family. Within 2 months, under public pressure, she was transferred to the Edmonton Institution for Women in Alberta. Today, Terry Lynn is considered one of Canada's most despised inmates. Families across the country remember Tori's face like an unfinished portrait, the one who stole the life of a little girl who never came home. Kelly Marie Ellard, age at time of crime, 15 years old. Prison facility, Fraser Valley Institution for Women. Kelly Ellard was only 15 when she was involved in the horrifying drowning of Rena Verk, who was just 14 years old, in Saanich, British Columbia. On November 14, 1997, Rena was stalked by a group of teens under the Craigflower Bridge, beaten and then forced into the water by Ellard and later Warren Glowatsky, who delivered the final blow that finally killed her. It was an heartbreaking act of violence from her peers, But Ellard's role stood out as she had been the one who held Rena's head underwater until she drowned. Despite her young age at the time, Kelly was tried as an adult. She was young in age, but not at mind, as her actions had shown that. Her path through the justice system was long and complex, as she had 3 separate trials spanning from 2000 to 2005 due to appeals and jury deadlocks. And in April 2005, she was finally convicted of second-degree murder and given a life sentence with no chance of parole for 7 years. However, starting in 2017, Kelly was granted day parole, gradually being allowed supervised absences for parenting programs and childcare. She gave birth to 2 children while in custody. Sources note that parole was extended several times, allowing her to live in a halfway house during the day while returning at night. Her release remains conditional and closely monitored, including bans on contact with the victim's family and limits on relationships. Kelly Ellard's name still triggers intense emotion across Canada, not just for the brutality of Rena's death, but because of how young Kelly was and how slowly accountability unfolded. Some believe she showed minimal remorse. Reports and public reactions suggest she may still downplay her involvement even today. She's seen by many as a person who remains a risk, despite years of being in the system and slowly reintegrating. Kelly is seen as someone who should be deeply feared in the society. Renee Akobe. Age at time of crime, early 20s. Prison facility, Grand Valley Institution for Women. Renee Akobe began serving time in the year 2000 for assault with a weapon and drug trafficking. What made her stand out wasn't just that she was violent, but that her violence continued while she was already behind bars. She was fearless and dedicated to her crimes as she continued, even behind bars. As she moved through the federal women's prison system, she accumulated a shocking record of assaulting guards and even planning and carrying out hostage situations with other inmates. What a nerve she possessed. She became so unsafe she was designated a dangerous offender in 2011, making her the only woman in Canada to receive that designation. According to psychiatrists, she showed clear signs of psychopathy, including a pattern of manipulation, relentless aggression, and traits linked to antisocial personality disorder. Even inside prison, she was kept under near constant lockdown and often shackled at all times, escorted by armed guards, and frequently held in segregation units. She's been directly linked to at least 6 hostage situations, one involving the torture of a nurse and counselor, slashes, cigarette burns, and forced drug ingestion. Renee's ability to instill fear wasn't just based on reputation, but she earned it through violent action. She lived the talk behind bars. She made sure to keep showing how worse her actions could be even behind the prison walls. Today, Akobe remains behind bars under indefinite custody. For correctional staff and inmates alike, her name invokes immediate caution. She's not just feared, but she's institutionalized as a threat. Her case stands apart, a rare example of a woman whose behavior truly terrorized within the prison system. We often associate danger with the unexpected, a masked figure, a shadow in the night, a stranger lurking where they don't belong. But sometimes danger is home, a friend, and a family. These women didn't just break the law, they shattered the illusion of what we thought women were capable of. Behind every sentence handed down by a judge was a community left scarred, a family forever grieving, and a country forced to reckon with its darkest truths. We now know that evil walks among us, often unnoticed until it's too late. Whether it was manipulation, violence, or a disturbing hunger for control, these women left trails that stretched far beyond the courtroom. Canada may not be known for a high volume of violent crime, but these cases proved that brutality knows no borders. If this deep dive opened your eyes to the world of crimes, Then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There are still so many untold stories to share, the kind that linger in your thoughts long after the video ends. Stay with us, because the next chapter is just as unforgettable.